Today's lesson is about converting between decimals and fractions. If we have a decimal, how to change it into a fraction, and if we have a fraction, how to change it into a decimal. To convert a proper fraction, which has a denominator of 10, 100, 1000, etc. So assume that your denominator is a power of 10, I should say. A power of 10. So power of 10 means digit 1 followed by zeros, different number of zeros. So 10, 100, 1000. So what we are discussing is a type of fractions at the moment which have a denominator of this form. Say we want to change this fraction into a decimal. One way of thinking of that, this is 3/10, and you should know that 3/10 also is this digit, is this form of show of the number. So if you want to go to decimal, just by instinct, you should remember that 3/10 and 3/10. This is the decimal format, and this is the fractional format. But if you want to look procedural wise, we can say this. All right, my denominator is a multiple, I'm saying multiple, I should say a power of 10. My denominator is a power of 10, and my numerator is a number. So if I want to show in decimal form, this 3 is going to show itself. So you start writing with the numerator 3. Then you need a decimal point. Where do you put the decimal point? Look at the denominator. How many zeros you see here? Only 1. So then you need to put your decimal point in a way that there is 1 digit to the right of that. We already have 3, then the decimal point should go here. So we put the decimal point here. Why? Because we need 1 digit to the right. Why do we need 1 digit to the right of decimal point? Because 10 has got only 1 zero. So that is 0.3. But for this 0, you can always put a 0 to the left of the decimal point. And if it didn't put it, still is not going to change anything. So 0.3. But we prefer to see a 0 here. So if you had 300s, again 300s, how do you do that? You just start by writing your numerator 3. So write 3. Then look at the denominator. How many zeros you see here? 2 zeros. Okay, but you have only 1 digit. So you need another digit to the left of that. So you add a 0 to the left of that. Now you can put your decimal point because you needed 2 digits to the right of your decimal point, but you had only 1 digit, which was 3, your numerator. Then if you were short, you can add zeros to the left. Okay, and that will be 0.03, and again to the left of the decimal point, you can always put a 0. So this is the case if our denominator is a power of 10, 10, 100, 1000, etc. But let's look at an example like 3 on 50. 3 on 50, we don't have this case that we had before where you had 1 in the denominator followed by zeros. Then what do we do here? These are the fractions that, this is an example of a fraction that you can change actually to write it out of 100. You remember equivalent fractions. You can times the top and bottom by any number to get equivalent fractions. Or you can divide also the top and bottom by any number that goes into both of them. Alright, here I want to change it to 100. So to change it to 100, all I need to do is double it. So double the denominator, and you got to double the numerator as well. So you get 6 out of 100. Now we have exactly the same situation we had before. Now you got 1 followed by zeros in the denominator. So write the numerator, which is 6, and look how many digits to the right of decimal point you need. 1, 2, but you have only 6. So you need to add 0. So you got now 2 digits, and you can place your decimal point here. And that is your answer. And as we said, you can add another 0 to the left of the decimal. Another example, let's look at 3 on 4. 3 on 4 can again turn into 4, can be turned into 100 by timesing by 25. So if I times the bottom by 25, that becomes 100, but I got to times the top by 25. Always, to get the equivalent fractions, you got to do the same thing to the top and the bottom. So 3 also needs to be times by 25. 3 times 25 gives me 75. So 3/4 can be written as 75 over 100. Now again, this can easily be turned into a decimal. So write your numerator, 75. Look at your denominator, how many digits you need to the right of your decimal point. How many zeros you have? 1, 2. So then you need 2 digits to the right of your decimal point. And you got already 2 digits, 7 and 5. Then the decimal point goes here. So, and you add a 0 to the okay, sometimes you come across with fractions that no matter what numbers you're going to times them, they are not going to turn to 10, 100 or 1000. Then what do we do with that situation? For example, 1/3 is an example of that. No matter what number I'm timesing 3 by, it's not going to be 10 or 100 or 1000. In those cases where you cannot change your denominator to 10 or 100 or 1000 by timesing by a number, what you need to do is you multiply, you divide the numerator by the denominator. Divide the numerator by the denominator. Remember that fraction also means division. So divide 1 by 3. Now how you divide it is up to you. You can do it by long division, or you can do it by short division. So 1 divided by 3. If you divided 1 by 3, you are going to get this 0.333, which goes forever. Then if you want to write to 2 decimal places, you stop here and you write 0.33 as your answer. Or if you want to be exact, you can put a dot over 3, and that means that this 3 goes forever. Just write 0.3 and add a dot on top of that. That tells you that this digit 3 goes forever. So these are the ways we can use to convert a fraction into a decimal. Thank you for your attention.